Evening, guys. Happy Sunday. A very docile evening, I think. Everyone's been either long running or we're all like this, I think. So hopefully the next 45 minutes will just give you a little bit more chill time before you can head off for either a roast or just bed, whichever you've decided to go for this week. I've just popped the link to the playlist in the chat. So if you would like to use the playlist today, then ping it on from the beginning now for me. In terms of things you'll need for today's session, just make sure you've got a cushion nearby and also a strap or resistance band that you can use as well if we need to. We're going to be working into calves, IT band, quads and hamstrings, basically lower body. But we are going to be starting standing up today. I promise not for too long. So when you're ready, just pop over to your mat. Make sure you've got some water nearby as well. And we're just going to start in a standing position. You'll notice I've got trackies on. I attempted to put my leggings on, but I'm not going to lie, my legs are so tight I can't bend over. So I'm with you all on that one. Just going to slowly hinge at the hips and come into a heavy forward fold to begin with. So feeling a nice deep stretch down the backs of the legs. Make sure that you've got a little bend in those knees, nothing too big, but just a softening in the knees so that we're not locking out through the backs of the legs. Now, you might have those hands on the floor, you might have them on the shins, you might have them on the ankles, wherever they are, that's absolutely fine. Just want you to take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And as you exhale, just allow the body to sink towards the floor just a little bit more. Allow that head to be heavy, the shoulders to pull down towards the floor. And perhaps just start rocking a little bit from right over to the left and shifting the weight between the two legs, side to side. And just seeing if you notice any differences at all. If you notice that one side feels a little bit tighter or looser than the other. And coming back to center. If your hands are on the floor, then you're going to walk them on the floor. If you're not reaching the floor, then just imagine you've got a floor next to you. We're just going to walk the hands around to the left-hand side so that they're by the outside of the left foot. And you're going to feel a nice deep stretch all from the hip up the right-hand side of the back, potentially into the shoulder blades as well. And also a bit of a deep stretch down the back of that right hamstring too. Just come see how we're doing. Perfect, guys, looking really good. Just staying there for me. Hey, Sophie, just join in whenever you're ready. Just coming into that left-hand side stretch. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. When you're ready, just bring the hands back around to the center before we walk them over to the right-hand side this time, working deep down the left-hand side of the body instead. Perfect, well done. Looking good, Jem. Nice, Emily. And just focusing on that breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And when you're ready, just walking those hands back towards the center again for me. When you get there, we're going to sink the bum down to the floor, heel toe the feet out a little bit wider, sink that bum down to the floor and bring yourself into your yogi squat. So the feet are nice and apart from each other. You want them pointed out slightly, so around the same as you would in a normal squat, so about 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. And just bringing the hands together and using those elbows to push the knees out a little bit and start stretching through that groin. Perhaps you want to sway from side to side. You can lift the toes up off the floor. You can rock a little bit sideways or diagonally, however you want to move in this position, just stretching through that groin, nice and slowly. I'm going to work through a couple of reps of this. Each time, hopefully, just bring it a little bit deeper. So when you're ready, hands back down to the floor, straightening up those legs a little bit, keeping a light bend and just coming back into your heavy forward fold. Nice and deep stretch down the backs of those hamstrings. And just holding here, seeing if potentially this is a little bit easier this time as well. Perhaps you're able to reach a little bit further than you were last time. And remember, we're just allowing the body to feel heavy. Embracing those aches and any of those joints that are feeling a little bit creaky. And knowing that by the end of this class, hopefully, they'll be feeling a little bit better. When you're ready, heel toe those feet out a little bit again and back down into that yogi squat. Again, just spending about 30 seconds here, working through however you need in that area. So options to twist, move side to side, or just stay static and pulse, open those legs as you need to. Perfect, well done, Em. We've got double M on our hands today. There's two of you. Well done, guys. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hands back down to that floor. And when you're ready, straightening those legs a little bit to come into that heavy forward fold. One last time. Just allowing yourself to sink as far towards that floor as you can this time. Remember, listening to that body as you go. So if at any point a stretch that felt simple at the beginning starts to feel a little bit harder as you work into the time, then just lift yourself out of it slightly if you need, and then lower yourself back in. Remember, you can rock side to side if you want to take it a little bit deeper through one leg than the other. Nice, guys, well done. And on your next rock, if you are rocking side to side, just bring those hands back to center, heel toe those feet for me, and back down into that yogi squat one last time. Again, moving side to side as we work through this one, or working into your twists, or just using the elbows to pulse open. You should notice that that bum, hopefully, is a little bit closer to the floor than it was when you first started. Perfect. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Just bring your weight over towards the right foot for me now. Onto the ball of the right foot, stretching the left leg out to the other side for me. Popping the heel of the left foot onto the floor, toes pointing up towards the ceiling. And you should start to feel a nice deep stretch down the inside and the back of that left leg as well. If you need, you can lower yourself down a little bit further by stepping the right leg out a little bit more. Or if you need, you can bring yourself a little bit less into the stretch by stepping inward towards that left leg as well. Perfect, guys. Now, as with our stretches where we come into these side positions, you'll get more of a stretch the higher those toes are pointed back towards your forehead. So you'll start to get more of a stretch through there if you just flex them up a little bit more. If it's too tight at any point, then feel free to bring it down to our straddle instead. So bringing the leg in front and stretching out across the leg instead, like we've done in previous sessions. Perfect. Final few seconds here. So nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just notice if you can bring the toes any further. In and breathe out. Bringing yourself through center, coming over to the left side and stepping the right leg out this time. Remember, option as on the other side to bring it down to our straddle position instead, if you need. Just starting to feel that nice deep stretch down the inside and the back of the right thigh this time. If you need a little bit more support, then just bring yourself down onto the bum, bring the leg in, and come into our folded stretch instead. Perfect. Now focus on that breathing for me, in through the nose and out through the mouth. See if you can point those toes any further towards you for 5, 4, in 3, 2, and 1. Carefully bring yourself down onto the bum. Bring yourself into a cross-legged position for me, sitting nice and upright on that mat. If you want to grab a drink, now's a good time to just have a little break before we move into our next little bit. Once you're in your cross-legged position, just want you to bring one hand to each knee and take a note of how you're sitting. So are you slouching over yourself, allowing your chest to be heavy? Or are you opening up through the chest? Altogether, we're just going to practice opening up through that chest a little. So we're going to round the shoulders forward and allow ourselves to hunch. And then from there, we're going to bring the shoulders up to the ears. And as we bring them back, we're going to bring ourselves up. And as they come down towards the back, we're going to stay in this nice upright position. The position that we all aim to sit in and never do. Going to bring your right hand down to the side and taking your left arm over towards the top. We're just going to work through a few core stretches before we go into our deeper leg stretching. Just letting those legs cool off a little bit from our first few stretches. Now remember, you can make this one a little bit harder by wiggling the fingers out a little bit further. Or if you need to make it a bit easier, just bring the hand in a little bit closer. You should feel a nice deep stretch all the way from the left hip, up the side, into the armpit and over into that bicep as well. Nice deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And on your next inhale, when you exhale, just bring yourself back up to center. Left hand down to the floor, right hand coming up and over this time as we go in to the right hand side. Perfect. I'm just going to come over and check how we're doing. Remember, with each exhale, it's an opportunity to push yourself a little bit further into that stretch. Don't have to, but if you're feeling like you want to take it a little bit further, the exhale is when we're relaxing through that body. So it's when it's going to be easiest for you to just push that stretch a little bit further. Well done, Gem. Looking good, M&M. It's your new name. Perfect. Last inhale for me. And on the exhale, just bring yourself up to center again. Now we're just going to cross the right leg over the left. So loosen off the left leg a little bit from your cross leg position. Step the right leg so it's on the outside of the left. Curl in that left leg behind you instead. Take your left arm and bring it around the right leg. Take your right arm behind you and just look over that right shoulder, starting to bring yourself into a twist. And as you pull that left arm in towards you, you should start to feel a nice deep stretch all the way from the hip, up the glute and into the IT band and the back of that hamstring as well. And with every exhale on this one, we're aiming to bring the knee a little bit closer to the chest or increase our twist around to the side. Just going to make sure none of us are knotted. We're looking good. Perfect. Well done. Just going to stay here for a little bit longer than we've worked into some of our stretches. If you need some support underneath that right hip at all, feel free to just slide a cushion in to help prop yourself up at the same time. Again, breathing in through the nose. And on the exhale, just bring that knee a little bit closer in towards the chest. And 2 more inhales, in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose again, and out through the mouth. Removing your cushion if you've got a support, just swap those legs around for me. Let's come back to our cross-legged position, but this time we're going to step the left leg over the right leg instead. Your right arm is going to come around the front of the left leg. Left hand goes behind you, and then we're rotating around that left hand side and just using the right arm to apply a little bit more pressure to that left leg. Again, if you need a little bit more support, just grab that cushion and slide it underneath the left bum cheek, and that's just going to help prop you up a little bit more. If the body's feeling a bit heavy and lethargic today, can sometimes help to just pop a little bit of a block in there. And again, we're going to hold here for a little bit longer. I know that we had some very achy glutes going on, so if you're an achy glute and it's helping, just give me a little nod. Perfect. Everyone nodded. Perfect. Well done, guys. Remember, each of those exhales, as we keep saying, is an opportunity to go a little bit deeper. I know I always remind you in these classes to breathe, but we so often forget that the body needs us to relax into these stretches to allow us to make the most of them. And together we're just going to work through 2 more rounds of breath. So in through the nose, and on the exhale, just a little bit more, either into the rotation or into that pull. And 1 final time, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Perfect. Allow those legs to just fall back to your cross-legged position. If you had the cushion in there, just take it out. And coming back to our cross-legged position, we're just going to take a seated forward fold. So a little bit like we did with our standing one, we're just going to allow the top of the body to be really heavy. So the chest is going to come down towards the knees. Stretch those hands out in front of you. What I want you to think about is the idea of you pressing those hands into the floor as hard as you can. So spread the fingers nice and wide and push into that floor. Now that's going to give you a nice deep stretch, hopefully through the lower back mainly. Really important area to think about, as tightness in the lower back can often lead to us striking the floor differently when we run, which can be the cause of some of that tightness that you might be experiencing. The hands should feel a little bit like they do when we're working through our child's pose here. So really pushing that floor away from us as much as you can. If you need to come out at any point and take a little breather, please feel free. Remember, our stretching classes are all about your time and your needs. And when you're ready, we're just going to lift ourselves up onto the knees, unfold the ankles from behind us and come into our tabletop position. So we've got those knees underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders. Now we always have this little section in our classes, but we're going to start working through our cat cows. So head up towards the ceiling, tail up towards the ceiling, belly button, imagine there's a string pulling it down towards the floor. And then going through the other way. So we're going to tuck the head, tuck the tail, bring that belly button up towards the sky and arch into our cat pose. Now, while you're in this cat pose, just think about wiggling your bum slightly from left to right and see if that helps stretch through your sides at all. And as we go into our next cow pose and you sink that belly towards the floor again, I want you to do exactly the same. Just shuffle that bum from left again to right And notice if you find any areas that feel a little bit tight. We're going to spend the next 60 seconds working through these cat-cows in our own time. So wherever you need to move, maybe that's some figure of eights, maybe that's just some side bends through each side, or perhaps it's just our standard cat into cow repetitions. But whatever it is that you need, just spending 60 seconds here, listening to your body, and also just learning and tuning in to those tight points. Often once we find a tight point, we go, oh yeah, that might be because the other day I sat funny. So you should be able to hopefully work out what might be causing it. Wriggling through those hips, through our cat, and into that cow pose. Another 20 seconds just to tune in and focus on yourself. Close down those eyes if it helps. Just allowing you to tune out from everything and really concentrate on your own body. Perfect. And when you're ready, we're just going to bring the feet together, take the knees out slightly wider, and sit back into our child's pose this time. So just like we did in our forward fold, we want to focus on the hands being as wide as possible. Stretch those fingers out and push down into that floor. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Closing those eyes down. So just take a little break as we reach the middle of today's class. If you need a drink of water at all, feel free to come out of the child's pose now, just as our interim little break to recenter that breathing, recenter those thoughts, and prepare for the second half of the class. Staying here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Tucking those toes for me. We're going to send that bum up to the corner of the room as we come into our downward dog. Now, this is where we're going to start feeling if those calves are a little bit tight. If you need to walk through the legs, then that's absolutely fine. Bending one knee at a time. Just start to mobilize through those muscles. And when you feel ready, just sending both heels deep down to the floor and the bum up to the corner of the room. And stretching down the backs of those legs. If you bend the knees a little bit more, you'll find that you send the stretch more into the calf. The straighter your legs are, the more you're going to feel it up in those hamstrings. Looking good, Gemma. Well done, Sophie. And when you're ready, we're just going to send the left leg up to the sky, kicking it up behind us. And then we're going to step it through to the right hand and bring the knee down to the left-hand side of our mat. Sinking into our first pigeon of today's session. If you have a cushion nearby, you can use it to relax the chest down to the floor. You can either stay up or you can come down onto that cushion with the arms or perhaps with the chest if you want to go into your full extension. Now I just want you to close those eyes down whilst you're here. And the first thing I want you to take note of is if you can feel that you're holding any tension through the face. Perhaps you're frowning, or perhaps you're just thinking. On the next exhale, just try And add a little smile to that face, relaxing off any tension. Next up, I want you to think about that left glute that we're stretching into. Really often when we're in pigeon, we tense that glute muscle. In order to relax and stretch through it, we need to really relax off that muscle. So if you can feel that you're squeezing the bottom slightly, on your next exhale, just let it go. Sink further down towards that floor. And focus on stretching into that glute and hip. We're going to be staying in this pigeon stretch for another 60 seconds. This is going to be the deepest stretch of today's class. It stretches through pretty much all of those upper leg areas that you guys were focusing on. Just close down those eyes if you haven't already. And really zone out. And for 30 seconds now, I'm just going to leave you in this position with your own thoughts. And I'll tell you when we're moving on to our next stretch. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Tucking the toe on the right leg. Send the left leg back to join it and coming back into our downward dog. Walking through those legs. Stretching out the body. Before taking the right leg up behind you. Stepping the right foot to the outside of the left hand. Bring the knee down to the right hand side of the mat and coming into your pigeon on the opposite side now. Again, either staying upright or lowering yourself down onto the arms or onto the chest on the floor. Use that cushion as a prop if you need to help find in-between levels. And again, just close down those eyes for me here. Check in with that face again. On the next exhale, just adding a smile. And then checking in with that right glute. And on your next exhale, just releasing it off if you can feel yourself holding any tension. And allowing the body to sink more deeply into that pigeon stretch. Again, we're going to keep this one held for a nice long period on this side as well. If you haven't already closed down those eyes, try to close them down now. And just focus on that breathing. Breathing in for 4. And out for 4. And again, I'm just going to leave you here for 30 seconds to focus on your own breathing. And I'll let you know when it's time to move to our next stretch. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Tucking the toes on the left foot this time. Sending the right foot back to join and pushing up into our downward dog. Once you reach your downward dog, just take the cushion out of the way if you've been using one. And then I want you to walk the hands forward and bring yourself into a high plank position. We're not going to stay here. You're going to lower those knees to the floor, untuck the toes, lower the chest to the floor. Find the outside of the chest with those hands. Take the feet so that they're about the width of your mat. And then pushing up through that upper body, coming into our upward dog. Now this one is even worse for tensing your bum. It's just one of those stretches that makes you do it. So again, checking in and just releasing that bum off, if you are. Taking a look over the left shoulder. And then over the right shoulder. Don't worry if there's any clicks. It's all good. And then over the right shoulder once more. Bringing those feet together, knees wide, and back into our child's pose for one final time today. Again, focusing on pushing those hands into the floor and really feeling that stretch through the lower back. Closing those eyes down and just using this as a little reset before we work into our final few stretches. If you need a little break, then this is your moment to just shake it off. Grab a drink of water if you need. And when you're ready, we're just going to bring ourselves back to that tabletop position. Now, before we start this section of the class, just want you to make sure that your cushion and your band are nearby so that you can grab them when you need. From the tabletop position, we're just going to step the left foot to the outside of the left hand, so nice and wide. Perfect. When you're ready, you're just going to lift yourself up so that you're in a half kneeling position. And from here, we're just going to start bouncing into that front hip, forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards. Maybe around and about, maybe some figures of 8. And when you're ready, we're just going to bring the cushion under the right knee to give it a little bit of support. We're going to come into our half kneel, rotate over to the right hand side, and either using your hand or your band to loop the foot, you're going to bring that right foot up in towards that right glute and start stretching through the front of that quad. Now, if you need to use the band, I'm just going to show you a little demo here of how you can loop that foot and bring it up towards you. If you need some support, then feel free to use your other hand to hold a wall or chair, or if you want to use both hands to bring it in, that's fine. If you can't feel the stretch down the front of your quad, then just bend a little bit more into that front leg for me, and that's going to tip that stretch a little bit more into there. Looking good, Emily. And Emily. Well done, Gemma. Well done, Sophie. Well done, guys. Okay, dropping that right foot carefully back towards the floor. We're just going to shuffle the body weight slightly. So we're going to step the left foot a little bit further forward before we come over the leg and stretch into the back of that hamstring. So we're just folding at the hips. Keep a light bend in that knee on the left leg. And again, the more you can point those toes up towards the forehead, the deeper the stretch you will find down the back of the leg. We're not going to stay here for too long. So it can get a little bit intense, this one. So in 5, and 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lifting yourself back up, bring the left leg, shuffle that cushion over under the left knee, and then bring that right leg forwards to about the width of your mat before we start working in to that right hip to begin with. It's just some nice deep bounces and stretching into that right hip. Again, figures of 8, or just pushing the leg out to the side with the hand. Well done, guys. When you're ready, coming back to our center position, turning over the left side this time, and either using the hand or the band, try not to wobble, to bring the back foot in towards the glutes. Once you've got it in there and you start to feel that stretch through the front of the quad, remember that you can increase that stretch by just bending into that front leg a little bit more, or just using the hand to pull the foot a little bit closer towards those glutes. Looking good, guys. Well done. Now that cushion is just there to help soften the impact on the knee, especially if you're on a hard floor. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, dropping that left foot back to the floor, stepping the right foot out just a little bit further onto the heel before we hinge at those hips again, and over that right leg, a light bend in the knee as we just take that quite intense hamstring stretch on the right hand side, toes pointing up towards the forehead as much as you can. And focusing on that breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Perhaps allowing yourself to get a little bit heavier on each exhale. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Just bring yourself back up to that half kneeling position. Taking that cushion from underneath the knee and popping it behind you. Then swiveling around onto that bum and just slowly lowering yourself, knees bent, down to our lying position. Keeping the knees bent for me as we bring one hand to the chest and one hand to the belly. I'm just going to ask you to join me in working through this last few minutes of the class with your eyes closed down if you feel comfortable, so that we can just tune into ourselves for these final few moments. Bring those feet together for me and just allow the knees to drop out towards the side, just allowing gravity to slowly open the legs a little bit further and counter stretch against a lot of the stretching that we've done in today's session. Focusing on that breathing for me in through the nose and out through the mouth. Notice how the chest rises as you breathe in and falls as you breathe out. And when you're ready, I just want you to step the right leg so it's flat to the floor. And bring the left knee in towards the chest, giving it a nice big hug. And rather than holding it static, I just want you to use those hands to move it in some circular motions or a figure of 8 perhaps again. I want you to imagine that you're really giving that knee the biggest hug you can. Now taking the right hand onto the outside of the left knee and just bringing yourself into a nice spinal stretch on this side. Not staying here for too long, but just having a few moments through that spine. And now meeting back in center, stepping the left leg so it's flat, bringing the right knee in towards that chest and starting to work through those rotations and movements on the right leg this time. Taking a hold of the outside of the knee with the left hand now, rotating yourself over to the left for our spinal stretch. And then coming back to center, bringing both knees in and giving both a nice big hug, perhaps just rolling that spine from left to right, massaging through any areas that perhaps feel a little bit tight. And then all together, we're just going to lower those legs to the floor. And find yourself a comfortable but open position to just finish today's class with a few moments of time for ourselves. You might want the knees bent, you might want them straight, you might want the knees out to the sides. If you haven't already closed those eyes down, then join me in doing so now. And taking a nice deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. For some of you, this might be the first time this week that you've been able to take a moment with no responsibilities, no worries, just yourself and your thoughts. And I'm just going to leave you here for a few moments, and I'll come back and let you know when it is time to wake up. Now, if you're ready to finish today's class, then just slowly roll yourself over onto one side into a fetal position. If you want to stay here in this lying position for a little bit longer, please feel free to do so. And for those of you who've rolled over to one side and want to round off the session today, just slowly use your hands to push you back up to a cross-legged seated position, holding those eyes closed for me for now. And now popping those palms over the eyes, taking one deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Slowly just blink those eyes back open for me, and then slowly allow the light back in. Well done, guys. I hope you're feeling a little bit more stretchy and zen now. My legs feel a lot better than they did. I will stay on the call to answer any questions that anyone's got, or if you've got any specific niggles that we didn't quite work into, then feel free to stay on and I can help you with a few individual stretches if you need to. Well done to those of you guys. I don't think we've got anyone here who had races today, but well done on all of your amazing runs and sessions this week. So many more to come and very exciting week ahead as we go international. We've got Berlin Marathon happening, people. All right, Jem. Shh. Amazing, guys. I will leave you to your evenings. Please remember to stay really nice and hydrated. Take a look over those plans and let me know if you've got any questions, and I will chat to you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will chat to you all soon. Bye, guys.